which game will we be talking about? There's a point of view from the Arsenal and then Manchester United matchup in the English Premier League in the midweek edition. So it was Arsenal that sat at home at the Emirates and they entertained Ruben Amorim's uh, Manchester United for Amorim's first a big game, if I should put it, since arriving in England. But note that since the start of the season with Sporting CP and then also a few games for Manchester United, Ruben Amorim is yet to lose heading into that game, or was yet to lose a game since the season began. So he began with Sporting in the league where they were flawless, as well as in the UEFA Champions League where they even beat teams like Manchester City in his very last game in the UEFA Champions League. So there's a Ruben Amorim, coach who hasn't really tasted defeat until, he joined Manchester United in England. So it was his first big test as head coach of Manchester United, and they had to travel to Arsenal to face them. So it was a game where you'd be expecting nothing but quite some, fireworks as well as some, end-to-end stuff from these two giants as far as the Premier League is concerned. So it was something. It was a game that gave us everything of that. But in that game, something interesting happened. Of course, aside the fact that Manchester United were quite dominant in that game, if I say dominant, they completed more passes and then also, had slightly more possession than Arsenal, something you wouldn't have thought of or even anticipated looking at Arsenal's form heading into that game. The interesting thing had to be that Arsenal had 13 corners in that game compared to Manchester United 0. So that was where actually the game was won. The corner kicks. Arsenal won themselves 13 corner kicks. 13 corner kicks as against Manchester United 0. So yes, me using the word dominant for Manchester United is quite, arguable. One could say that no, they were not really dominant on the day, but I was talking about passes completed. The more passes you complete, the more dominant you can be. So in the game, Arsenal and 13 corner kicks in that game against Manchester United 0. And after the game, it was Ruben Amorim who didn't look quite, happy. Yes, his side lost. Obviously, he wouldn't be happy. But there was one thing he wasn't happy about because he felt his team failed to deal with the corner kicks Arsenal won on the day. So out of the 13 corner kicks Arsenal earned, they ended up scoring twice. And guess what? Even without one of their best headers, or one of their most lanky players in Gabriel. So since the start of last season, Arsenal had scored more goals from corner kicks. They've scored prior to the game against Manchester United. Arsenal has scored 20 goals from corner kicks since the start of the 2023-2024 season. So going into a game against the Gunners, you are most likely to even concede from a corner kick more than the penalty. Yeah, that's one of the things for Arsenal. They've really scored from so many times from corner kicks. Even this season, we've seen that game against Manchester City, where Gabriel was at the end of a couple of corner kicks, to get them the lead. Eventually, that game ended 2-2. So it wasn't quite surprising, but the most surprising thing had to do with the fact that there wasn't Gabriel in the starting lineup. And then Arsenal wins 13 corner kicks. And you'd be thinking, in the absence of Gabriel, who does all the job for them, from these corner kicks? Because we've seen how they attack corners, usually the instant swinging corners where you have a chunk of the players just wait at the far post, waiting to pound on any ball that is being, aimed towards the 6-yard box. So that's how they attack. And you can see that, in the picture displayed right now. They love to attack the box, especially the 6-yard box. So heading into a game where United failed to create or win themselves any corner kicks, Arsenal end up winning 13 corner kicks. And interestingly, they make United pay for it, even in the absence of Gabriel, because Jurrien Timber headed Arsenal's first goal, from a corner directly. And then the second goal also was a header from Partey that came off William Saliba to win Arsenal the game. And interestingly, it has been their weapon, since last season, and not just since last season particularly, but then since the arrival of the German-born French set-piece coach, that's Nicolas Jover, since his arrival to Arsenal from Manchester City. So Jover had worked with, previously with clubs like Brighton and Hove Albion, in the friendly league with Montpellier. He's also worked with Manchester City during the days of, Pep Guardiola, who is still coach, and then when Mikel Arteta was assistant coach at Manchester City. So that team, Nicolas Jover, he's been the difference for Arsenal all this while. Because since his arrival at Arsenal, they've scored more that set piece goals than any other team in the top flight. So you can just imagine the guy's impact already at Arsenal. So we're talking about Arsenal's weapon, not just against Manchester United, but the mere fact that if not for the corner kicks, then the game could have ended, goalless perhaps, because no team, either team wouldn't have had enough firepower to have just broken down the other side. Via open play. But it was the corner kicks. Yes, it's part of football, and they really made United pay for it. So after full time, they ended up winning themselves 13 corner kicks and ended up scoring twice. And that has been Arsenal's weapon since the start of last season, like I said, all thanks to one coach, that's Nicolas Jover, who has formerly worked with Manchester City as a set-piece coach. He's coming to Arsenal, and already things have changed. Yeah, so you can visit other, generations of centre-backs that really scored quite a lot from, corner kicks. So between that Gabriel and then Saliba, between them, they scored 7, headers from corner kicks in the last 2 seasons. And that's quite a lot considering the fact that Arsenal themselves have their goals being shared across all the pitch. So we're just asking if, that corner kick routine from Arsenal is the best we've seen so far. That's the point of view. I've seen quite a lot the likes of John Terry and Alex during their days at Chelsea. I've seen the likes of Rafael Varane and then also Sergio Ramos during their days with Real Madrid. I've seen quite a lot as well. Joel Matip and then Virgil van Dijk. Even in the Premier League, I've seen the likes of Nicolas Jover and then also Rio Ferdinand during their days at Manchester United. So we've seen defenders pop up, get goals for their side. Sometimes when they really struggle to find goals from open play. But we are seeing something new from Arsenal, something we've never really seen, from any other team in recent times. For them to score in 3 seasons and counting over 40 set pieces should tell you that they are really making good use of it. But you ask it that even still on the title chase, as they chase the likes of Liverpool, for the Premiership title, you think with this new corner routine that we've really seen, just end them points. Because since the start of last season, Arsenal have won 9 games versus a set piece. That tells you that they are really, really good when it comes to winning set pieces. So I feel, it's one of the best I've seen. Perhaps that of Real Madrid during the days of Sergio Ramos and then also Varane and Pepe is the best I've seen. But what about you? Do you think Arsenal's corner routine is the best we've seen so far? And it's the best, weapon for any team at all in the top flight in recent times. So you can also, just hit to this comment section and you can comment what we have. We've been talking about Arsenal's new corner routine that won them their game against Manchester United. They won 2-0 and it all came from corners.